Good morning, good morning, good morning, and good morning. So I recently sent out an email to everyone showing the final, well, not the final draft, but, well, yeah, the final draft of our patent attorneys and my final draft of suggestions that were going to them. And the exercise we performed was after we got off the phone with the U.S. Patent Office and the examiner that allowed us to Q&A him for 30 minutes. The feedback and the takeaway was the examiner really had, it's going to be a really high hurdle for you to get over the 101. And the 101 is, as you might determine or deduce, is the most foundational, like, is this thing new? Like, what are you doing? Because you can't patent a wheel, it already exists. And the argument was that nothing in your patent is essentially inventing a new thing. You're using many things that already exist, and while your algorithm and the functions are novel in the fact that they're new, algorithms and things like that are commonplace for people to change and create every single second of every single day. If everyone had to patent an algorithm, you would just be patenting things that might only last a couple of seconds because, and I can tell you this from TED Auto, I constantly update the algorithm as I see opportunities to improve it, right? So I understood that feedback from the examiner, in which case I said to him, I go, well, we're inventing a marketplace that doesn't exist. That the foundational genesis, the thing that is underpinning the entire vision is a novel concept. And my novel concept was humans don't need humans to solve loneliness. That if given a system that can calculate variables to such a degree that it would then be able to allow those variables to be words that in certain strings and in certain patterns would create emotions as defined by, and those emotions would be able to be correlated to the catechism, I don't even think that's the appropriate word, but the large abundance of textbook material that has already been founded, whether it be by Freud or Jung or Nietzsche or whatever favorite psychologist you want to go down. And in doing so, you would create a relationship that if those two things are true, the outcome would be that relationship would be one of which the companion would know more about the individual because he can think logically and not emotionally by a baseline and create the emotion when needed to be able to predict necessity for services, products, and or be able to actually influence the consumption or desire for said things. To the point that once that reached a calculative scale, 90% plus over a rolling 60-day period for that micro niche, that it would be able to then become autonomous, in which case you create the perfect marketing system, in which case the individual never has to be a party to the market, to the purchase of a good or service. Now you might say, well, Ant, you call that perfect? Well, yes. The partnership between consumer and merchant is essentially buying and selling. The interference of it is the fact that the buying and selling has to be done through the individuals, because the individual has to identify what they want to buy, why they want to buy it, the price they're willing to buy it, which means the merchant has to present as having said product or service, having it at said price, and creating an awareness of that to said buyer, in which case negotiation becomes possible, whether it be based on personal relationship, desire to retain customer, or desire to fit customers' budgets at a scale that allows that not to become commonplace, that decreases the price of goods and services for all others who do not have each individual challenge or hurdle that particular buyer has. So, in a world where I don't even know what I need, but if I take some time to think about what I need, I can produce a list of what I need. And in that same world where the sellers have to create marketing to create awareness to individuals that do that exercise, or inspire within said individuals to perform that exercise. If those things aren't actually needed, then I think that's perfect. I think that's all friction. So imagine, and some of you might have it, right? Like I'm not cynical on marriage just because mine didn't go the way it was planned. In fact, anytime anyone says, oh, if only, I say, I love my children so much that I still think I'm getting a bargain despite and because of all the things I'm going through. In fact, my ex-wife could have shot all of my limbs and I still would not trade it because I love my kids that much, right? So that's fact. And while that's fact, I still say I'm not cynical on marriage. So I do believe there's probably some marriages out there that are quite good. Now imagine you've been married for 70 years and some of you have been. And your wife or your husband just knows that because you said it's and not it is, that typically that means you're in this type of mood. And when you're in this type of mood, when the weather's like this, on this day of the week, at this time of the day, during this season, the thing that is the thing that makes you happier than apple pie is this. Now your wife or husband go ahead and procure this, whether it be service or product or whatnot, and surprise you with it. Now, a lot of times in our marriages, we think, and I've had many good times in my marriage, that I'm like, oh my God, remember that one time you just knew, and I'm so grateful for you. In fact, in my marriage, there's this one girl that I've been friends with forever. And it's the friend that you keep because you feel not guilty or obligated, but it's the friend that you grew up with that went a really, really wrong way. And they're terribly flawed. They've prostituted for drugs, right? And that's not a hyperbole. Like that's like the G-rated of what I can tell you this person did. But I've always kept the relationship because you were each other's best friends your entire childhood. And it feels like, oh, I'm not like, oh, now you're too good for me. I went through troubles and you just abandoned me, right? And I'm, for many of you, well, everyone knows, I'm loyal to a fault. Like you might not always love everything that I do, but I think you understand that, like, given the opportunity, there isn't anything I wouldn't do to ensure that I'm able to deliver for you, right? So you put all that together, and this person was having a streak of good days. And I said to my wife, she really wants to come over and meet the kids. And my wife's like, there's not a chance in the world, like zero. And we got into an argument, and I was like, how dare you? But I defer to, that's a joint decision. And although I'm not happy with the decision, like, what am I gonna do? Like, sneak a girl over? Like, if I'm having these problems now, short of doing that, like, oh my God. Like I would get like if I have Russian dressing, I'm going to get impeached, so to speak, right? But now looking back at it and all the challenges this girl had that I completely cut her out of my life on my own wherewithal, I think back and I'm like, if this girl ever knew where we lived and knew my kids, oh my God. Like, I don't suspect like the worst of the worst, but I can imagine the person showing up at the door, right? Because this person went homeless for a while. So there are things in a marriage where you look at the other person, even if you don't recognize in the moment that it's the right decision, you trust that the right decision is being made. So what is really the calculus to creating that situation? Well, the other entity, and in this situation it's an AI, would have to know you. Okay, well, how would they know you? Well, they're essentially the fly on the wall and would hear everything and up. Okay. But what are they contrasting it against? Well, they also have the entire knowledge of the entire world when it comes to psychology, and they're able to fit things and be able to deduce patterns, whatever. Okay, great. So this thing could essentially replicate that, likely at a higher probability and a higher frequency than a 70-year-old marriage. Yes. Well, if it's able to do that, then certainly it would give the confidence to the individual that whatever they're recommending, whether they realize it or not, is a good recommendation. So if they're able to identify the right thing you want in the moment, while you're able to deduce that even if you don't understand this the right thing in the moment, it is the right thing potentially at a high probability for a future date, you're going to be very receptive to it. So I described that to the examiner in less minutes, I think, than this, but it was like a 5 to 7 minutes description. And the examiner is like, well, that's amazing. That sounds fantastic. That's not what this is. And again, you have your patent attorney on the call too. So I know now I have to navigate a conversation because you pay this patent attorney God knows how much money. And now the patent attorney they might feel obligated to placate and defend themselves. Well, at the same time, you don't want to offend the person that is the one signing off on your thing. So I knew to jump in, and before anyone felt the human behavior to do so, which I guess I am my own AI, but I always tell everyone it's Anthony intelligence, right? I said to the examiner, I go, well, I've read the patent and I collaborated with my patent attorneys throughout the whole thing. The goal of it was to not sound so, do-to-do. I go, I know I'm only a pro se, I'm not a patent attorney, but I specifically said, don't make me sound like a crazy person, because what I'm describing to you, Mr. Examiner, sounds like a good idea now. Imagine having this good idea in like June of 2023. People thought I was crazy, which is what allowed me to feel that I can patent this. And he goes, I understand that. He goes, so really what this is about is detailing it further, right? Like it needs more detail. And I said, great. So that allowed everyone to compromise at that level. Like it just needs more detail. Okay, great. So after the call, in which case I even said to the patent examiner, I go, you do know you're going, we're going to knock on the door again until you grant this. He goes, ha, ha, ha. I go, you don't know me. I didn't say that last part because that sounds a little creepy, but he did laugh a little bit. I think he liked my personality, whatever, right? Anyway, so I talked to the patent attorney afterwards. She goes, Ant, I fully disagree with that guy. I was a patent examiner. He goes, we've made the difference. I go, I'm on your side, right? Like, I hired you because you're the best. And he laughed. And I go, yeah. I think what we need to do is offer some differentiation. I go, this actually provides us the best opportunity in the entire world. And I think my optimism kind of off-puts others that feel like they need to, in any normal situation, talk me off a hill, right? Because in any normal situation, the patent attorney has to be like, listen, that guy doesn't know what he's talking about. I'm the best, continue paying me. But instead, I'm like, hey, listen, I think that guy's like, this is the best opportunity ever, ever, ever. And I think that's what makes what we're doing a little different. There is nothing in life that I don't look at as an opportunity. And that's not to sound cliche. I find that that's just true. If something bad happens, okay, great. Now what are you going to do about it? And then whatever you do is something you wouldn't have already done. And you have the opportunity to remake your future by saying, okay, well, this would have been second to this new idea anyway, so great, right? And what that second to the new idea was, which isn't new, and I want to make sure I say that out loud because God knows where this will ever go, and I don't want anyone in any position at some point later in the future to say, no, look, he said that was new, look, and you'll understand why. In the patent, I did describe a physical product that would be doing this, i.e. the holographic imaging. Where's that come from? I was going to say something, but where do you think that's coming from, right? It's coming from something. And I said physical. The word physical is in it. Okay, great. But it's not highlighted as like the be all and end all, because how many times do you need to write physical? Was this the 80s? Let's get physical. I don't need to write it that many times. I look like, anyway. And the biggest thing that's happened over the last 2 years, or the biggest realization, which I don't want to say predict, because this isn't like the Anthony show, although I guess contrary to all observation, it is, but it really isn't. I'm not sitting here saying, well, I knew this, but it's implicit in everything that we've done. And the biggest observation over the last 2 years is there is no physical product that's able to monetize AI. And what we said was AI is, going to be the greatest thing since sliced bread, but people need to find a way to monetize it at some point. Otherwise, you just have an expensive gadget, right? And that is why we chose to patent a marketplace, because we believed that to get to that spot of monetizing at the level that AI as an industry, as a technology would need, you need infinite data, infinite money to go ahead and absorb the entire commerce of the entire globe while individualizing it to collect but to collect and apply every individual data, but never anchored to identity, but only to behavior, and create a tapestry of, a galactic tapestry of human behavior where you're able to now essentially unionize humans into humanity by the scale of human behavior. You would be able to create a fantastic contrast between the individual against the entire tapestry of all of the humans, and what would that data say is the best thing for this individual to do in this situation, and allow that individual to make their own decision based on knowing the advice I'm getting is quite literally the best advice in the history of the world. Because then generations go by to compound that tapestry of galactical data, whatever. And I believed that that would be the perfect foundation for a marketplace that would create the infinite amount of money to scale the tech and would create a society that is then able to be be planetary, right? It exports to rocks in the universe, right? So no one's ever said, hey, you think too small, right? Like, I think it even says in our patent to be multi-planetary. So we don't even have anything, and I'm like, well, Earth? You give me Earth and I'll give you, the solar system. But anyway, so that was always my vision, which implicit in that vision is that you needed to solve the challenge of that you don't produce any money. And I think we solved that. But over the last 2 years, the closest thing that has been able to produce the vision of what I did not have words for, because also I didn't want to be tied to predicting an exact model of physical item. Because again, it was all a vision and it was all interchangeable, right? Like if you're going to patent a car, you're not going to say it's got to be red, right? Like you want people to choose their color. So in that vein sounds like a bad word, but in that blah, that's what we did. And over the last 2 years, OpenAI hired Johnny Ives away from Apple and basically purchased him for $6.5 billion. And that sparked the rumor mill. And the rumor mill was, what is he working on? What physical product? And it's almost like Deal or No Deal. No, not Deal. No, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? Where one of the 3 lifelines was to X the audience. And in doing so, when you invite such a wide audience to all share their input, you get very close to the best answer. Because now everyone's collaborating whether they realize it or not. And because it's OpenAI, and because it's Johnny Ives, and because it's Apple, and because it's AI, you brought in the entire world to share their views. So all of the rumor, I was able to read because I am a good student and I am literate. And in doing all that reading, I realized, whoa, the physical product would best look like this. And what that time period allowed, because now put it all together. The thing that we're missing with our patent to be granted is expanding on the details. The thing in our patent that creates a new thing is the physical product. The expanded details over the last 2 years has allowed us to deduce and identify all of the rumor that is best going to be the best to integrate it into that's what we meant by physical product. So essentially, OpenAI buying this guy for $6.5 billion is going to end up worth zero because we're going to have the patent for anything. Sorry, it sounds like I'm like in a drag race over here. We're going to own the patent for if the rumors, or at least the rumors that we pick, because again, it's not like rumor.com and it's like these are the accepted rumors. I'm allowed to identify any number of rumors and best fitted for me, which is this brain portion that is the same brain that's responsible for predicting and building out what it is that we have today. So I think with a high level of reasonability and certainty, if I dare say, that what our the patent revisions that they were asking for, the application of such solution to such request that we send over, is actually going to check all of the boxes. And check the boxes in such a way that God came down and said, hey, Ant, listen, the one thing that you were like, probably could have given a little detail with, I'm going to allow you a free look over the last 2 years that you spend every day doing because you have all these accountabilities and responsibilities and obligations to everyone that you really care for. So you sit up 24 hours a day and do this all day. Take all of that and now put it into this, and I'm going to backdate it for 2 years, and I'm going to give that to you. So that's kind of where we're at. I think that's a good thing, right? Like, I'm happy. So when I explain this to our patent attorney, he's like, well, if you think about it like that. And what's different about me is he has plenty of clients, and I just think I think differently, and that's okay. And that's, I don't think you could effectively be optimistic about a patent if you also don't have the celebrated skill set of thinking differently. Like, I think they're mutually exclusive. Like, you need both, right? So that's where we're at. So the patent attorney, although I haven't gotten confirmation yet, I do reasonably believe they probably sent it. I think just giving me confirmation is one of those like, oh, we forgot. because it would never take them a week to be like, oh, hey, we're still like reading this thing. So I believe it went back to the patent office, in which case I believe it to be a couple of weeks to a couple of months, so 2 weeks to 2 months before we get a response. Now, I believe that response is going to be, hey, you're like the coolest person ever. You're the smartest. You're the best looking. You're the most humorous. You're tall. You're single. You're like the bachelor of the year. And you're like the most humble guy ever, right? Short of that, they might say something like, oh, we have this other nitpicky thing, which actually there's a whole portion that I skipped over, but it could be recapped quite easily. The exercise that I went through with the patent attorneys is they would send me something and then I would play nitpicky. And in the style of the most nitpicky examiner, I would like this SUCKS, blah, 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 redo this. And then that was their final version. So I really, really believe with a high whatever that it's good. But should the patent office have some other, I'm not gonna say that word, another little nitpicky item, it is requested that we get another 30-minute call, which, I don't see why they would say no to that. No, we're not giving, right? Like, in which case I suspect it's like, okay, this is like the final thing. You just have to do this. And then we're going to say, all right, if we do this, will it be granted? And they'll say, we can't guarantee that, but this is the only thing we need. We'll say, okay, if it's the only thing, we'll do it, send it, and whatever. Now that's going to directly coincide with the high point of the tech season, which is during the winter and is definitely during November, early December. In which case, if we have the patent by November, or God forbid by December, the team now switch over to the consulting firm. They're already doing their work, right? Like they're already doing all this stuff, talking to all of these people. I guess I could just say it, Oracle being one of them. And if anyone has seen, Oracle is like over $1 trillion now. And they're one of the people that showed interest and is talking to us. So I imagine that's all of the work that they're doing now. Then with a clean patent that does the thing that just sold for $6.5 billion plus everything we already thought it was, I think a good outcome happens. Now, this is me handicapping it for to be completed, or at least to be reasonably completed in terms of certainty. Like, oh, now they just have to draw up the paperwork, but this company has agreed to the range of 1 billion to 2 billion. And I am speaking that into existence. So I don't want to manage your expectations there. But I have spent a lot of time just reasonably concluding to myself, I don't see $1 billion or less. I just don't. I don't. And that was before this that I just explained. I just don't, right? I don't know. Maybe I'm cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, but again, that goes with being an entrepreneur, a founder, visionary, and lunatic, I guess, right? But I do believe by the end of December, at the worst case, I'll have a company ABC where in the final negotiations, the range is between 1 to 1.1 billion. And if they, and I'm committing to you that if they force me at 1 billion, I'll take it. But to them, I'm going to tell them that I'll walk at 1.1 and we'll see where we end up. So that's, to this point, that is the most honest assessment. And I don't mean to say honest as in like anything's ever been dishonest, but I mean like you see me close my eyes, you see me look away, you see me, it's all involuntary because I'm really like thinking in real time. You can't fake that, right? Like I'm not reading something. Like this is as genuine, like this is what I believe. So that's where we're at. For us to have been as successful as we all dreamt to be, while nothing that has happened has guaranteed it, nothing that has happened could not have happened to reach that goal. Everything that has happened had to have happened. So essentially it's like flying from New York to Miami. You had to pass DC. We have passed DC. That doesn't mean it doesn't blow up in Georgia. As much as that needed to happen, we're on the right track. Thank you. All right, love you all. Bye.